Shalom. Giving all praises to Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom to you, hopefully elect. My brother Yahweh Call from Great Millstone, Orlando. And I'm just back with a little lesson of faith. All right. Pursuant to the title, The Battle Belongs to the Lord. All right. I'm just meditating, as always. Johnning my my meditation and thoughts. When it comes to everything that we deal with, Jake is catching hell, all right, whatever the case may be. But nevertheless, man, the Lord, man, he's way beyond our problems, our little bullshit problems. All right. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna start off with this in James chapter 4. James chapter 4, I'm gonna start at 1. From whence come wars and fightings among you? Come they not hence even of your lust that war in your members? Ye lust and have not, ye kill and desire to have, and cannot obtain. Ye fight in war, yet ye have not because ye ask not. We read that in the NLT. Because it's as simple as coming to Yahweh Shema Shai about whatever the situation may be, whatever problems, all right, whatever the case may be. Again, Yahweh Shema Shai, he's beyond our bullshit problems. Is the Lord's arm short that he can't save? Right? Do you truly believe that? Read that in the NLT, James 4 and 2 in the NLT. You want what you don't have, so you scheme and kill to get it. You are jealous of what others have, but you can't get it, so you fight and wage war to take away from them. Yet you don't have what you want because you don't ask the Most High for it. So you see, man, it's as simple as turning to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. All right, in faith. All right. Here it is. Jake, man, I was just thinking about this while I'm on the plantation. Jake, Jake can't wait for Friday to come. Friday, payday, right? That's when Jake gets paid. Because once that paycheck comes in, it's just like a lot of problems solved. A lot of problems that Jake deals with is financial issues, financial problems, and it's just like Jake looks forward to that Friday, that payday, because they know that that paycheck is going to come through, that direct deposit is going to come through. But that's the thing about it, the direct deposit is coming through. It's coming through. You see, that's what's cool about it. You don't question. But that direct deposit is going to come through, and it's just like how much more faith do we need to have and apply to Yahweh Shema Shai? Just know, all right, because at this point we're beyond faith or slakia. At this point, because like the scripture say, in all things you ought to say Lord's will. But at this point we're beyond Lord willing. All right, we know. All right, we are beyond the point of believing. We know. All right, because matter of fact, I'm gonna go to this. In Hebrews, which is gonna lead me to Joshua. I'm gonna go to this in Hebrews 11. Hebrews 11. Let's start at verse. Hebrews 11. I'm going to start at verse 29. By faith they passed through the Red Sea as by dry land, which the Egyptians, assaying to do, were drowned. Matter of fact, let's go to that real quick, because if I'm not mistaken, that leads me to this here in Exodus 14. Exodus 14 and 14. It said, the Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. So you see, because this is what inspired me to do, the topic of this, the title of this topic, the battle belongs to the Lord. All right, and all we got to do is just show up, because the details, the Lord's already got that figured out. Oftentimes, which I'm going to go to that in Joshua 6, I'm going to go to that, which Hebrews 11 is going to lead me to that. But the Lord spoke in a victory. What do you call it? The Lord already spoke in a victory sense. Oftentimes, you see, because again, man, is there anything too hard for the Lord to do? Is there anything that's too hard for the Lord to deal with? And we should know the answer to that. And through faith, and this is the point that the Lord is driving in us. This is why Yahushua was constantly getting on the disciples. All right, because the time would come, and the time did come when the disciples came apostles. All right, and we go into the accounts, the apostles performing miracles and things of that nature, bringing people from the dead, which I'm gonna go back to that in Hebrews 11 soon. But there was a lot of growing that needs to be done. A lot of growing had to take place. Like it tells in Acts 14:22, confirming the souls of the disciples. You see, and something that I was just telling brothers, the class that we teach, Wednesday night classes, because we're coming into more and more uncharted territory. With that being said, that's only going to require more faith. All right. So, like the Acts 14:22 says, confirming the souls of the disciples, and of course we can apply that to ourselves, because this thing of ours is getting ready to transition from faith to faith. All right. And again, there's absolutely nothing that the Lord can't handle. There's nothing too hard for the Lord. And what the Lord is trying to instill in us is, through faith, we can accomplish anything. We just have to go through the motion. All right. You see, again, that's why the battle belongs to the Lord, because, it's already been worked out. The details have already been worked out. All right. And all we have to do is apply. All right. All we have to do is apply. The Lord did 99% of the work. The heavy lifting has already been done. All we have to do is apply that 1%. All right. So again, Exodus 14:14. The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. So again, the battle belongs to the Lord. All we have to do is just show up. All we have to do is just apply that 1%. So with that being said, I'm gonna jump down, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm not mistaken. Let's read on in verse 15. And the Lord said unto Moses, wherefore criest thou unto me? Speak unto the children of Israel that they go forward. Because here it is. It was looking grim. All right. It was looking hella grim. All right. Here it is. The head of the children of Israel, it was water, and behind them, Pharaoh in those chariots, Pharaoh and his armies. So it's like, oh damn, what are we gonna do? But you see, that's the beautiful thing about it. All right. How else is the Lord going to show his power? If everything was all good, handy, and dandy, how will the Lord show us that he's with us? How will the Lord show forth this power? You see, so that's why we're put in these uncertain situations, all right, just for the Lord to show up, to increase our faith. The Lord puts us in these situations just to deliver us, just so we can, you know, trust him. You see, that's why, hey, with that being said, we trust the process. All right. The Lord knows what he's doing. Second Ezra 6 talks about, I'm going to go to that real quick. Second Ezra 6. Second Ezra 6. Second Ezra 6 and 6. Because when you start at 1, when you read from 1, basically the Lord is saying that, hey, before anything was even brought into existence, all right, the Lord already had this mapped out. All right. That's why in verse 6, Second Ezra 6 and 6, it says, then did I consider these things, and they all were made through me alone, and through none other. By me also they shall be ended, and by none other. So you see, again, the Lord already has the details mapped out, man. All right. He already knows what the deal is. He already knows. That's what the scriptures talk about, that expected end. All right. The Lord already knows how this is going to play out. You see, it's like the trust fall, It's like that trust fall, You cross your arms, all right, and you have the individual behind you, and you just fall back, knowing that that individual is going to catch you. All right. You see, hey, the Lord already has the details worked out on our behalf. All right. And again, that's why we just trust the process, man, because what better hands can we be in than Yahweh Shema Shai? What better hands can we be in? Reading on, verse 16. But lift up thy rod and stretch out thine hand over the sea and divide it, and the children of Israel shall go on dry ground through the midst of it, through the midst of the sea. And I, behold, I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians, and they shall follow them, and I will get me honor upon Pharaoh, and upon all his hosts, upon his chariots, and upon his horsemen. And the Egyptians shall know that I am Yahweh, when I have gotten me honor upon Pharaoh, upon his chariots, and upon his horsemen. And the angel of the Lord went before the camp of Israel, removed and went behind them, and the pillar of the cloud went from before their face and stood behind them. And it came to pass, Salakia, and it came between the camp of the Egyptians and the camp of Israel, and it was a dark cloud and darkness to them, but it gave light by night to these, so that the one came not near the other at all the night. So you see, because again, as Jake was approaching that Gulf of Suez, all right, it didn't look good for Jake. Jake started to doubt. Jake started to doubt. As a matter of fact, when you read up, I'm gonna jump up because you can start from verse 1, but I'm gonna start at I'm gonna jump up to 8, Exodus 14 and 8. And the Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and he pursued after the children of Israel, and the children of Israel went out with an high hand. But the Egyptians pursued after them, all the horses and chariots of Pharaoh and his horsemen and his army, and overtook them, encamping by the sea beside Pi-hahiroth, before Baal all is fun. And when Pharaoh drew nigh, the children of Israel lifted up their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians marched after them. And they were so afraid. And the children of Israel cried out unto the Lord. So you see, all right, Jake had doubts, you know. Matter of fact, verse 11. And they said unto Moses, because there were no graves in Egypt, hast thou taken us away to die in the wilderness? Wherefore hast thou dealt thus with us, to carry us forth out Egypt? Is not this the word that we did tell thee in Egypt, saying, let us alone, that we may serve the Egyptians? For it had been better for us to serve the Egyptians than that we should die in the wilderness. So you see, Jake doubted. All right. Jake began to doubt, you know, but of course, as we know the account, the Lord, in fact, did deliver our forefathers and foremothers. Going back to Hebrews 11. Hebrews 11. Back at verse 29. By faith they passed through the Red Sea as the dry land, which the Egyptians assaying to do were drowned. Because that's why I often talk about how, you know, hey, when it comes to our little bullshit problems, is the Lord not bigger than your 2-bedroom apartment? Is the Lord not bigger than, you know, that supervisor giving you a hard time on the job? The Lord is far beyond our bullshit problems. And that's why I always say, you know, our forefathers, they dealt with some real shit, man. Shit that we couldn't, and that's not to take away from what brothers and sisters deal with on the side. Because again, brothers catch hell, you know. But man, when you look at all the accounts of what our forefathers dealt with, you know, listen, we really don't have room to complain. There is really no room to complain. All right, our forefathers went through way worse than what we're dealing with today, and look at what the Lord did. You know, so like I just said here, and I read the account, verse 30, Hebrews 11 and 30. By faith, the walls of Jericho fell down after they were compassed about 7 days. So you see, which leads me to Joshua chapter 6. And this is cold, because check this out. Joshua 6 and 1. Now Jericho was straitly shut up because of the children of Israel. None went out and none came in. And why is that? Because, hey, that fame, all right, that fame of the Israelites at that time, hey, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the name of Yahweh was known. All right. So as Jake was on his conquest, hey, you know, the Lord was with us, man. You know, and as we were on this you know, on the path to you know, the land of milk and honey, hey, we were ripping through everything in our way. All right. So when it came to Jericho, hey, these because when you read verse 2, slack you.
I can borrow your key real quick?
Yeah.
I'll probably just put something on hold the door and I'll bring it back to you.
I was gonna say, you want just let you on? You want?
You can pop it.
Okay. All right, slack you about that. You talk about faith. I was one of the dudes I work with. Was sitting out here the whole time. How was he expecting to get back in if I didn't come out? You talk about faith, hey, you know, you can't make the Lord up, man. But yeah, going back into this account here in Joshua 6, I'm gonna start at 1 again. Now Jericho straightly shut up because of the children of Israel. None went out and none came in. And the Lord said unto Joshua, See, I have given into thine hand Jericho and the king thereof, and the mighty men of valor. So you see, like I said, the Lord often spoken in victory sense. Victory sense. Like, hey man, you see that right there? You already got that shit. Because again, man, the Lord already has the details worked out. The Lord already knows how, how it's going to play out. But again, the Lord teaching us a lesson, showing us that, hey, through faith, we can accomplish anything. All right. None of this shit means anything to the Lord. Make no mistake about it. None of this shit means anything to the Lord. All right. And you see, because it reminds me, like I mentioned, the mighty men of valor, again, these inhabitants of Jericho, they heard that fame of Jericho, Salakia. They heard that fame. All right. When the Lord delivered the children of Israel. And again, we were on the path to the not the motherland, but the land of milk and honey, and ripping through everything in our way. So these cats, they try to basically lock themselves in. Matter of fact, real quick, in the water I was thinking about this earlier and I couldn't find it, but it's coming to me. The water I believe that's Deuteronomy 2. Deuteronomy 2. Yep, Deuteronomy 2 and 25. This day will I begin to put the dread of thee and the fear of thee upon the nations that are under the whole heaven, who shall hear report of thee and shall tremble and be in anguish because of thee. So you see, and this is happening today. It's cold. The parallel of the scriptures is cold, because going back to this Joshua here. All right. Like I said, back in Joshua 6 and 2, and the Lord said unto Joshua, See, I have given into thine hand Jericho and the king thereof and the mighty men of valor. So you see, hey, the Lord already was like, man, listen, you see all that? Hey, that's yours. Before we even did anything, and that's why, walking with the victory mindset. All right. The scriptures tell us that, hey, man, the world is ours, man. Be ready to conquer this shit. And as we are on our conquest to the land of milk and honey, all right, hey, that fear, the Lord is putting that fear. These nations start with Esau. They're starting to hear that report. You see, putting that dread back into the earth. Oh, there go those Hebrew Israelites. They're waking up. You see, because it also mentioned, the scriptures also mention how the mighty men have forborne to fight. You see, because listen, man, like I said, the parallel of the scriptures, man, and that's why the Lord's going to have to put his spirit. He's going to have to put his spirit, because why did the Lord harden Pharaoh's heart? To prove a point, to magnify his name. You see, and it's going to be the same today. All right, Esau, when the Lord comes, he's not going to want to fight. The Lord's going to make them fight to magnify his name. Like the scripture says, it's not going to be talked about more so, the deliverance from ancient Egypt, but hey, this new deliverance, hey, is going to far outdo ancient Egypt's deliverance. So the parallel of the scriptures, man, is cold, man, But verse 3, and ye shall compass the city, all ye men of war, and go round about the city once. Thus shalt thou do 6 days. So the account. If you don't know it, read it. All right. Because again, here it is. The inhabitants of Jericho, they try to fortify themselves. All right, they try to fortify themselves. Because they heard that fear, that dread. Again, that Deuteronomy 2 and 25, man. They heard of the fame of the Israelites. And the power of the power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. All right, and the Israelites were on their quest to the land of milk and honey. So these cats, they wanted no parts of that. They didn't want no smoke, but hey, the Lord gave them to them anyways. you know. But the point being that in verse 2, man, it said, I have given into thine hand Jericho. And this was before the walls of Jericho even fell. Before we did anything. The Lord always like, listen, y'all got that. You see? And again, because like I said, the Lord already did 99% of the work. All we got to do is show up. Matter of fact, let me make a point. I'm going to jump down. Because you best believe those cats, man, they were terrified. They were hearing these trumpets. You can imagine, man, these cats, they were terrified. They were scared to death. Again, they didn't want no smoke. But let's touch on it real quick. Verse 10, and Joshua had commanded the people, saying, ye shall not shout, nor make any noise with your voice, neither shall any word proceed out of your mouth until the day I bid you shout. Then ye shall shout. So you see, strictly business, man. Strictly business. So the ark of the Lord can pass the city, going about it once, and they came into the camp and lodged at the camp. And Joshua rose early in the morning, and the priests took up the ark of the Lord, and the 7 priests bearing 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark of the Lord went on continually and blew the trumpets, and the armed men went before them. But the reward came after the ark of the Lord, the priests going on and blowing the trumpets. And like I said, you can just imagine the fear of these guys, these cats that basically, lock themselves within, the walls of Jericho, hearing the trumpets, the noise. Jake was, hey man, Jake, man, you know how our people get down. Jake was getting all into it, the Lord was probably magnifying the sounds of the horns of the trumpets. You could just imagine those inhabitants, man. They were scared shitless, man. They were scared shitless. But just the point being that, because again, all we had to do was just apply that 1%. The Lord already had the shit in the bag, man. Again, the battle belongs to the Lord at the end of the day. So we don't, and that's why I was mentioning earlier, before the disciples became apostles, that's why the Lord was constantly getting on the disciples, because they had to level up. They had to level up. You see, Yahushua was constantly getting on the disciples because of their lack of faith. Because that's what the chief thing of this thing of ours consists of, is faith. That's what it's all about, faith. All right, faith, man. And the Lord's showing us again that if we can accomplish anything, all we got to do is apply faith. Again, the Lord is the work. The Lord already did 99% of the work. All we got to do is apply that 1%, and we can accomplish anything through faith. All right. So from there, going back to Hebrews 11. Hebrews 11. Back in Hebrews 11 and verse 30 again. By faith, the walls of Jericho fell down after they were compassed about 7 days. By faith, the harlot Rahab perished not with them that believed not, when she had received the spies with peace. And you see, through this, in the spirit, man, we committed whoredom. All right, we became harlots. Rahab, she could be likened unto Israel, because we were once, we committed adultery, spiritual fornication, and so on and so forth. We were those harlots. You see, so that can be likened unto Israel. All right. Niggas will see Rahab made it. The heathens can make it. Rahab, no, man. You gotta have a spiritual understanding, man, when dealing with the scriptures, man. But again, that Rahab, she could be likened unto us. All right, we were harlots, man. At one point, we became a no people. Verse 32. And what shall I say more? For the time would fail me to tell of Gideon, and of Barak, and of Samson, and of Jephthah, of David also, and Samuel, and of the prophets. Again, man, this is why Romans 15:4. You know, things written aforetime was written for our learning. All right. These accounts are not here for us just to read and not to apply for ourselves. You know, nah, man. You know, because essentially we are reading about ourselves. And again, it's about that application. It's not hard work. You know, the Lord already did the heavy lifting. All right. Who through faith subdued kingdoms. You see, again, through faith, this is what the Lord's trying to tell us. This is what he's trying to show us. Through faith, we can accomplish anything. Man, that's why I read that James 4, man. You know, through faith, we can accomplish anything. Verse 33 again. Who through faith subdued kingdoms, wrought righteousness, obtained promises, stopped the mouths of lions. And hey, be ready to do more, greater things. All right. Be ready to do greater things. Verse 34. Quenched the violence of fire, escaped the edge of the sword, out of weakness were made strong. So Salaki about that. Let's finish this out. Verse 35. Women received their dead raised to life again. And so you see, and others were tortured, not accepting deliverance, that they might obtain a better resurrection. So you see, man, hey, all these things, man. All right. You know, man, hey, we come from a rich legacy, you know, a rich and wealthy legacy, man. You know, I'm seeing more and more and understanding more and more the privilege we are in as the Lord's people, man. You know, man, this is truly a beautiful thing to be a part of, you know. But reading on, and others had trial of cruel mockings and scourgings, yea, moreover, of bonds and imprisonment. They were stoned, they were sawn asunder, were tempted, were slain with the sword. They wandered about in sheepskins and goatskins, being destitute, afflicted, tormented, of whom the world was not worthy. They wandered in deserts and in mountains and in dens and caves of the earth. And these all, having obtained a good report through faith, received not the promise, God having provided some better thing for us, that they without us should not be made perfect. So you see, man, all right, faith, man, you know, and Lord willing, you know, like we read about these great men and women, you know, this chapter, Hebrews 11, man, the wall of faith, man, as some say, the hall of fame. Hey, this is the hall of faith, and we're hoping to be put on that hall of faith to where our accounts are going to be talked about forever. You know, through all odds, all against all circumstances. Hey, you know, that's why those men stood so stiffly. They were commended. You know, because against all odds, man, you know, against all odds, you know, look at what we've overcome. Look at what we've been through as a nation of people. Look at where we're headed. You know, like I mentioned, the parallel, you know, you know, that quest to the land of milk and honey. That's why a lot of the nations, man, they were afraid, man. When Jake came through, hey, them nations were afraid. You know, ripping through everything in their sight, in their path. And hey, it's a saying today. All right, we are on our conquest to the land of milk and honey, to the kingdom that's getting ready to be established on earth as it is in heaven. You know, and that report, that dread, it's out there. These nations, they see, there go those Hebrews. All right, hey, man, you know, faith, we can accomplish anything with it, you know, and that's what the Lord is showing us. Anything can be accomplished through faith. You see, because again, man, at the end of the day, none of this shit means anything to the Lord, and by default, none of this shit should mean anything to us by default. Of course, it's easier said than done. That's why the scriptures say, you know, the faith being as a grain of a mustard seed. You know, it starts off small, but hey, you know, it grows into one of the biggest trees. You know, and through it, again, we can accomplish anything. All right. So Lord willing, this was edifying, giving all praises to Yahweh Shema Shai. Shalom to you. Hopefully, like Lord willing, until the next one.